Right, so this is a casted game between Hippie playing as the 2nd UK Infantry Division and Infamous playing the 35Y Soviet Paratrooper Division. This was a ranked game played on the ladder recently, and I'm about 35th on the ladder at the time of playing, and Infamous is about 50th, so it is a quote-unquote high-level game. A lot of people have been asking me how to play second because it's very bad. The short answer is don't, but I'm going to show you some strategies that you can use to at least have a fighting chance. So I'll do the deck reviews, but first a bit of housekeeping. If you want your games casted by me, a pro player, a cool guy, then please send the games to the Discord link shown on your screen now. That's my Discord account. But remember, kid, I don't hear so good, so you'll have to speak in all capital letters for me to be able to hear your message. Okay, so this is the second deck for the game, the one that I was playing, and we'll jump into it tab by tab. Tab 1, it's called Mega Supply for a reason. I bring 3 cards of supply. This is off meta, most people don't do this, so you might want to consider getting rid of the Chinook and replacing it with, I don't know, something else in the air tab. I bring 2 CVs. I don't really like the Jeep anymore, but I'm sort of forced to bring it because I only get 1 card of the other one. And the reason why is it only has 4 HP and less than 1 armor. So a brief gust of wind or a howitzer shell is really going to do a number on this. Whereas this, it's a lot slower, like a lot slower. But it has good front and side armor, which means, you know, shots to the front and the side will, with artillery, will do less damage. So I prefer it. Infantry tab, so I bring the Terriers leader, you get 4 availability compared to 3 availability on this one, which is, it's better in terms of strength, but it's less availability. This one's the same in terms of strength, but it's less availability. And then the Jägerführer has the same availability, but less strength. So it's personal preference, really, but I prefer this one. I then bring a card of the Milan 2 in the Saxon. I like the Saxon over the Rover. So the Rover you can sell. The Saxon has a medium machine gun, which has 850-meter range, which means that against the law 80 or against, you know, every man, woman, and child in the nation of France, you will die to a rocket launcher because you'll be in the range of the max range rocket launcher. But en masse, I like these things a lot. They're quite fast. They should have smoke. You can see the smoke launchers there. But right now, that's not implemented. I'm hoping it's implemented soon. So I prefer the Saxon to the Rover. Don't bring anything in this for 1v1. I really don't think it's very good. So the speed, obviously, but you can't sell it because it has a machine gun on it. The machine gun isn't particularly amazing. And it costs 50 points. And it's, you know, easy to shoot down, easily spotted, takes time to take off and land. So in most 1v1 situations, a helicopter is the worst option. Unless it's got rockets on it. Next, I'll bring a card of Terrier Pioneers. Satchel Charge Throwers. Last time I spoke about how rubbish Satchel Charge Throwers are and how I never use them. Well, I was wrong. Times have changed. There's currently a wacky meta strat going around where you fire a bunch of smoke at your enemy and then run at him with these guys and just start yeeting them all over the place and then you win. Then you bring some anti-tank infantry with them just in case the enemy drives tanks into your smoke. So Pioneers are good again, despite not actually changing. So why do I bring the Terrier Pioneer over the Assault Pioneer? It's a good question. The Assault Pioneer is 10 points more, but you get 1 less guy, but you get better MG options. So the Terriers, I get them to throw satchels, and so high strength is what I want because they're going to throw satchels, and they're cheaper. so I don't really care about the MG. However, the Assault Pioneers, you get 3 more in a card, and that's not to be sniffed at, and you can get them in the Saxon as well. So, personal preference, but really I think the Terrier Pioneers are the better option right now. Next, we've got the SAS. These guys are the classic Wargame Red Dragon SAS, so they come with an AT4 and a Stinger. Yeah, they're the best sort of infiltration bullshit annoying units in the game. They're very expensive though, at 100 points. I get them in the Saxon again. And advanced deployment, they come with paratrooper advanced deployment. So you basically need these. I think they're too expensive for what they are right now at 100 points. They will die to any infantry with a machine gun because their only anti-infantry option is 8 SMGs. So usually you can't even shoot back because they'll be too far away for you to shoot. So generally they're just used for sniping transports, and then the enemy sends over a helicopter to see what the hell killed this transport, and then you kill the helicopter. So they are expensive. I think they're too expensive, but they do pay for themselves if you use them properly. And when they run out of ammo, you bring them back to resupply, or you just leave them until they run out of Stinger ammo. Then I bring 2 cards of aeromobiles in the Saxon. So these are your line infantry with the Law 80. So yeah, they're alright. I mean, 60 points is a lot for 9 strength squads, but the Law 80 is very good. Having 2 5.56 LMGs is also good. Yeah, they're 60 points, but you can sort of understand why. And then I bring 2 cards of armored rifles in the warrior. The difference here is that they get a way worse rocket launcher. The M72 Laws is really, really crap. Less range, less pen, less accuracy. Yeah, the main thing I'm getting these for is anti-infantry behavior with the warrior. You can get for 10 points more the warrior Milan, which is alright. I used to get this a lot, but they added finally the smoke to the standard warrior. So I use the standard warrior now. Realistically, I would bring 3 cards of this and 1 less of these, but sadly I can't. I can only bring 2 cards of this. Then you get the Terrier anti-tank group. So this is my favourite unit in the game. This is the face of evil right here. So 25 points for a max range rocket launcher, 4 strength, 8 rounds on this max range rocket launcher, 25 points. So you get 9 in a card, and I just send these all over the place because if you kill 1 transport, it's really already paid for itself, basically, right? If you kill 2, then yeah, definitely. So I just put them on all the resupply roads. I have them running around the forests. Occasionally, if I've run out of air mobiles, I'll bring them with my regular infantry. And then I have the Terrier gun group, which is just like a bit of cheap anti-infantry fire support. I'm not sure about these guys. I might change them out for some more pioneers or something. Generally, I don't use them, but for 15 points, they can lock down an area. They stop enemy infiltration units. But yeah, the comparison is this or that. So for almost 3 times the price, you can get 1 more MG and twice the strength. So it's like, well, why not just bring 3 of these? Artillery, I bring 1 card of the 81mm mortars in the Bedford, obviously. So this doesn't really kill people anymore. It's mainly used for harassment and smoke. Mortars have been nerfed recently. If you want to kill people, I guess you can bring this. But generally, I don't use mortars for damage. I use them for smoke, and so paying 1/3 of the price works for me. I mean, realistically, you could just buy 3 of these, and it would probably do better than 1 of these. Then I bring 2 of these. This thing is very fun to use. I'm not sure if it's the most cost-efficient artillery in the game, but 4.46 HE, 4 rate of fire, sits somewhere between the Malka and something like the Paladin. Yeah, I like it a lot. Sadly, only 1 per card. I always double them up, otherwise it doesn't you know, it might not kill whatever heavy target you're aiming at, but if there's somebody in a bush somewhere and you need to kill him, yeah, nothing will happen for 26 seconds and then he will die. So great, great thing. Good off-road speed as well, which means that you can move it around a lot in a field to avoid counter battery without using your roads. Usually you tend to move on the roads to avoid counter battery, but then shells come on the road and they can kill your resupply units. So that's just something to consider. It's not really a big deal. Tank tab. So you get 2 cards of challenges, which are 300 points right now. They're very slow, right? So it's a good tank, but it's very slow. And that means that when the enemy cluster or AT plane comes the other way, you don't have enough time to react, really. So it's great that the deck has this, but it's also a bit of a weakness, I suppose, or at least it's not as good as it could be. A lot of people bring these. 75 points, you get 12 in a card. I can never make these work for me. Whenever I buy them, they just die. They can't really kill any tanks. The current iteration of the T55 just blows this thing out of the water and is cheaper. So it doesn't kill tanks very well. And if I want to kill infantry, I bring a warrior. So I don't bring them. I usually have to buy 2, and at that point, you know, just buy something else or buy half a challenger. So this is one of the drawbacks of the deck. It's the way it's designed, so I don't think it'll change. Is that you get light tanks or obsolete tanks, and you get heavy tanks, but you don't get a medium tank. I think it's a really interesting way to design a division, but for you, the player, it's obviously really annoying. And then I bring the Iltis Milan for 20 points. It's a Milan. I think this is way too cheap, actually. Really fast. 20 points for a Milan. Yeah, I buy them in 2s, and I just sail them around everywhere. I put them on max vet for the accuracy. You can get 4 more if you don't do that. Personal preference, I never really buy 12, so that's why it's upvetted. So, recon tab, air mobile scouts. These guys are interesting because they're a scout team with really good anti-infantry power. They bring 4 machine guns, but no anti-tank capability. So, if it's going to be an anti-tank road, if you're expecting, you know, tanks coming down that road, then use the SAS. And they are quite expensive, but they're very good at killing infantry. Or at least you won't kill the infantry, but you'll secure the ground. If it's their recon against your recon, you tend to win that fight. Gazelle recon, recon helicopters for me are always a must because they're really good at detecting infiltration units. You can cover a lot of ground very quickly, so just like poke it forwards and then send it back straight away to avoid the anti-air missiles, and you can get a good idea of what's on the field. I like them a lot. 4 per card and very good optics is rough, but it is what it is. Fox, I've heard a lot of people complain that the Fox is too strong. I think it's kind of garbage. 96 rounds, 1 front armor. It gets smoke and it's very fast. I would bring the Scimitar if I could, because it's cheaper, it's more available, it has more ammo, it has more front armor, and it loses about 20 kilometers an hour on the speed, which is not the end of the world. But I don't have that choice, so I have to bring the Fox. If you get one of these in the back line, they are very funny because the enemy can really never catch it if you keep moving. Yeah, they're all right, I suppose. And then I bring the Jaeger Aufklärer, or you know, whatever that stands for. So in the game that I'm about to cast, I bring them in this. And this thing really isn't working for me. It's slow. The gun is a medium machine gun. The stealth is mediocre, so it dies. And yeah, it's not really working for me. I thought it would be great to have a little bit of extra recon, but honestly, I don't think it's worth it. So I bring him in the truck because it's faster. I could sell the truck. And of course, exceptional stealth on these bad boys means you can put them in positions that really this is never getting to with its mediocre stealth. AA, so the tracked rapier I really like. if something flies over this, chances are you'll hit it at least once. And if you have two, you're going to kill them. The issue is the anti-aircraft range is quite limited. But I like it a lot. Carries 8 missiles and it's fire and forget for some reason, which means that it can fire them quite quickly. So, because I can only get one card of these, I bring these, which are 95 points because you have to keep the transport with them, otherwise they'll die to artillery. And it's the same thing, just on land, only 4 missiles. So the salvo length is a bit less, and I bring them on max vet because this is 74% accuracy, and then I lose 1 and I get 81% accuracy. So I like to bring them on max vet. In no scenario have I needed 12 rapiers, so that's why. And I tend to be using the tracked rapiers anyway. There's a case to be made that maybe I could upvet this as well, but I like this one a lot, so I don't do that. Then the civilized man would bring a javelin because HE4, good anti-helicopter range, better accuracy now. But I bring the blowpipe because I think it's funny. So this thing's absolutely terrible. It's half the accuracy, and you might think, well, that's all right. It's 1/3 the price. But the main difference, and I'll have to swap them around here, is it is manual guidance, which means that as soon as you lose line of sight, you're missing 100% chance to miss as soon as you lose line of sight. So, yeah, it's really not very good, but I think it's really funny. But yeah, if you want to win, I would bring this. But if you want to win in this patch, you wouldn't be playing second anyway. Helicopters, you've got 3 choices. I bring 2 out of the 3. Your choices are ITO helicopter, regular tow helicopter, rocket helicopter. So I bring the ITO helicopter over the regular tow helicopter because I like it when my tow missiles kill things. Typically a case could be made that you don't always need 20 pen and the enemy's probably going to move anyway. But yeah, I'm always willing to pay 30 extra points to try and get those kills. And then you get the Gazelle rocket. So I always use these things in 2s because 12 rockets isn't enough to kill infantry, really. 1 infantry squad. So I always use them in 2s. And they're very cheap, but I always see it as like a 40-point unit because I buy 2. And they're a lot of fun. You just send them forwards, you spam your rockets, and then you go straight back to resupply, and then usually you might avoid anti-air, but if anything's aiming at you, you tend to die. So anti-air or air tab, another weak one in this division. So this thing's just really underwhelming. I'm not sure why it's 215 points. As you can see, it has no gun. It's slow, and its ECM is a bit less than a lot of other fighters. So it's really shit, but you don't have a choice. Your other choice is this, which is even slower and doesn't have a long-range missile. So yeah, your hands are tied with the Phantom F3. What can you do, eh? And then I bring Jaguar Cluster, Jaguar Bomber. There's 2 Jaguar Bombers. You could bring this one for 15 points more, which is probably a bit better against tanks and stuff, but I tend to use the HE against infantry, so I like the larger number of smaller bombs. But maybe I'm wrong, because I have actually seen things survive this, so maybe I should bring the HE too. And then I bring 1 Harrier. The Harrier has a bit of a problem right now where it turns like a brick. Even though it's really slow, it still turns like a brick. So, yeah, I bring 1 Harrier, typically for the guns and the missiles, and then the bombs are a bit of an advantage for, enemy rear sneaky units where you can bring this in without reproach. 3 in a card. Why do I bring this one? Well, so the AA Harrier doesn't have the bombs, and yeah, it has 4 air-to-air missiles, but never really had a situation where I need 4 air-to-air missiles. The Rocket 2 obviously doesn't have the missiles, the Rocket 1 does not have rockets, does not have the bombs, but does have the missiles, so I guess, you know, the Rocket 1 might be good as well. Yeah, personal preference. With a salvo length of 18, this Rocket 1 tends not to kill an infantry squad either, so that's why I bring the bomber. So, to summarize, the deck has some problems, right? It's an attrition deck with no cost-effective infantry. The infantry is very expensive. Um, and the artillery options are good, but not great. So you can't do attrition because your infantry isn't cost efficient. You can't do standoff or, you know, armored gameplay where you mass a bunch of tanks because you only get 6 challenges and they're slow and they'll die to enemy cluster planes. And the anti-air options are bad, or at least not sufficient to intercept the bomber before it kills the challenger. So the deck's in a really weak place right now. I'd love to see some more cost-efficient infantry. Yeah, there's really no strat that works with these guys. It's just a case of trying to play to your advantages, such as they are. I like to use the AT groups, I like to use the SAS, but generally this is not a meta division. Hopefully that will change in the next patch. Right, so here is my opponent's deck, Infamous. He's about 50th on the ladder at the moment, and he was playing 35Y, which is the Soviet paratrooper division, so once again we'll do it tab by tab. First tab, this CV has forward deployment, but and you get 4 availability, so it's basically like the Rover on the other team. It is slower, like 30 kilometers an hour slower for who knows why. 5 points more because you can forward deploy it. So I actually don't use this. I think I just bring this one. I can't remember though. But yeah, this tab is quite weak for 35Y. It's one of their disadvantages. So these supplies, they're cheap, they're forward deployed, but you only get 3,000 supply per card, 250 times 12, whereas typically most options get 5,000 supply per card. So then you're forced to bring these helicopters. So this is 6,000 supply per card, but I actually don't bring this one. I bring this one, which is more expensive, but you get 2 in a card. So it's actually 12,000 supply in the card, but it's really expensive. So if it dies, bad day for you, right? Infantry tab, I used to bring the SPG-9. I used to like it a lot in the truck. All of this is forward deployable with the exception of this commander because it's a paratrooper division. So yeah, I would send these forwards, and if it kills one thing, yeah, whoop-de-doo, I got my money's worth. Very funny, very high rate of fire, but then they nerfed the ammo to 8, which means that this runs out of ammo in about 35 seconds, which is not fantastic, so I don't bring it anymore. So next is the Spetsnaz OP, OP Spetsnaz. Don't know if that's supposed to be D or not. But yeah, they are OP. 35 points. You get 12 rounds on this anti-tank rocket launcher. Max range, 21 pen, 14 rate of fire because of the veterancy. Very high accuracy. So they're sort of like the Terrier AT group, except better in every way. Yeah, they're really good. Bring them. Spetsnaz. So these are like a 12-man squad. Good against infantry because of the RPO. MMGs are a bit shit right now, but they get 2 MMGs. But yeah, the RPO is 6 rounds and a 12-man squad. These are really good as well. I bring these. You only get 4 in a card, but they are amazing. Like, so 60 points for that. And then Desantniki, so Desantniki aren't very good at killing people, but the advantage is they come with the BMD too. So this thing is hilarious. It doesn't have smoke, which is sad, and the armor is limited, unlike the warrior, say, that has 3. But the cool advantage is that it has 3 PKTs on it, so that's 3 machine guns. And so if you get this within 850 meters range, which isn't really possible against the Brits because they get LOR 80s, but against a lot of divisions it's easy to do, then it kills things extremely quickly. Then he brings another one in the truck. I wouldn't do that. I would get more BMD2. I like the BMD2. And then 2 cards of Desat Niki Metis. So these guys are really good. The Metis is good, and the Veterancy means that tends not to miss. 7 strength as opposed to 6 strength. I think I only bring 1 card, and I bring them like this, and then I swap this out for like a Conkers or satchels, because satchels are good now. Then you've got Spetsnaz Commander. The VSS Vintrez runs out of ammo very quickly, in about 45 seconds, because 60 ROF roughly, and the range isn't fantastic, but really, your commander shouldn't be in a fight anyway. Other options, that's 4 strength, so it's worse. That is... yeah, it's about the same, I suppose. Worse RPG, better RPK, better machine gun equivalent. This one comes with an igloo, which is funny, although, is that really going to be useful if it's hidden away somewhere? So, yeah, so I do agree with this. And then the SPG-9, I've seen these used to great effect against me and against others. They have 15 rounds as opposed to 8 on the infantry squads. I don't really like them. I prefer to just bring more infantry. But personal preference, they are pretty cool, especially if you get a few of them at once. Then artillery tab, card of mortars, card of Nona. That's fairly standard. These aren't that good yet. They've got alright suppression, but they're not amazing. The Nona's alright. I mean, it's classed as a mortar, but it is a howitzer. The Vasilek is still terrible. Doesn't fire smoke. It's better than it was, but that's not saying much. So it doesn't fire smoke. It costs more. Yeah, and it's lower caliber, so it doesn't actually do that much damage. So yeah, this makes sense. Tank tab, yeah. So this is why I don't bring the SPG-9 anymore, because you've already got something better now in this tab for 5 points more. This is also forward deployable. It's got a paratrooper icon up there. And let's just compare it to the SPG. So it's got 5 times more ammunition. You might say 1 less penetration, but it's a kinetic round as opposed to... Oh, bloody hell, I've clicked something. It's a kinetic round as opposed to... Yes, bear with me, please. Technical difficulties. It's a kinetic round as opposed to a heat round, which means that as the enemy gets closer, you will do more penetration damage. And because of the range, at the same range, you're going to do a lot more penetration. The range is higher, as I just said. The accuracy is more than... Well, yeah, it's about twice as high. The rate of fire is slightly lower because it's not displaying the veterancy. So the SPG fires 14 rounds a minute. Whereas this thing is like 10 or 11. But it is better. The strength is higher. The only issue is that anti-tank guns die to tow missiles, which is very strange. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but it is what it is. So yeah, I actually bring these down bed so I can get more of them, and then I don't bring the SPGs, I bring something else, some other infantry. The tanks, both tanks of the T6, both cards of the T64, yeah, it's really good. I think I down vet these so I could spam, but a rough rule of thumb is that if you find yourself not bringing all of a card, just up vet it by 1 and see how you get on. And then tank CV, yeah, sometimes you need a tank CV. They are quite expensive. The issue is, right, that so it's 100 points more than this. So why wouldn't you just bring this and then bring a 100-point CV? Hide the CV, use the tank. But sometimes you need the armor, I suppose. Sometimes the other tabs don't work for you, right? This is a 2-point card as opposed to a 3-point card here. Recon tab, these guys are amazing. In the KPV. Yeah, so it's not these guys that are amazing, it's this vehicle. 1,000 rounds of KPVT, kills helicopters, 25 points, good optics, good stealth, good speed. Yeah, I bring them. I think I might even bring 2 cards on max vet. Spetsnaz Gru, yeah, the RPG's alright. The VSS Vintorez, as we spoke about, runs out of ammo really quickly. Accuracy's good though. I mean, what are your other options? Motorized Razvedka are 10 points more, and the rocket launcher's worse. But yeah, typically these are probably being brought for the Mi-8T, and then the Spetsnaz are just something of an extra. And then this is 80 points, exceptional optics, 6 availability, whereas the Gazelle was, what, 60 points, very good optics, 4 availability. And this is 55 points, very good optics, 6 availability. But hey, maybe Britain will rise again, whatever. AA tab, Afghansky is good. Iglas, yeah, they're good. You up them for the extra accuracy, makes sense. Then Iglas in the... I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. This thing is really underwhelming. So this is the same gun that you can get here, right? Or here. And it just doesn't kill anything. It's... The range isn't good, and yeah, it tends not to really do any damage, so I would just save myself 30 points, and, get it in the UAZ, but that's personal preference. I bring the Akula AA, and the reason why is that it's 160 points for an Akula. Sadly, in the meta right now, if you bring an expensive helicopter, somebody smashes a jet into it and it dies. But yeah, Igla 5 infrareds, 160 points for an Akula. The autocannon is obviously very cool. The Gatling gun you're probably never going to be in range to use. But I really like it because it's 160 points, unlike this, which is 300 points. And we were talking about suicidal jet runs. This thing is really not worth it right now because it's almost impossible to keep alive. If you can get it into position, yeah, sure. But the plane comes and the plane kills it, and if the enemy loses their plane, they don't care because their plane did not cost 300 points. So I tend to... This is good. This is also good. Igla 5, 80mm rockets. So you see it, the gun isn't as good, but everything else is as good, except obviously less ECM. So I tend to not bring these, and then I'll bring that. And if you want Kokons to kill things, I would bring this because it's less than half the price. So if you lose it, it's not so bad. And the missiles are bigger, 122mm rockets as opposed to 80mm rockets. So yeah, typically I would build it like this. So you already have enough rockets in the Mi-8 transports, so I tend to do that. But yeah, it's personal preference. If this thing gets into a good position, it can kill things, but I've never seen one of these pay for itself. Air tab, 2 cards of the MiG-29 fighter. Makes sense with such an air-heavy deck. This thing's not bad. The R-27... It's a good missile. I mean, look at the range. It's a lot better than the Skyflash. And the infrared missiles are also very good. They're a lot better than the Phantom F3 ones. And it has a gun. And you will notice it's the same price as the Phantom F3. And I think it's faster as well. So, yeah, that's interesting. Moving on. Yeah, bring this. This is good. Sometimes if you want to suicide into a helicopter, people bring this, but it doesn't actually do it reliably because this gun is 23mm. as opposed to the 30mm gun. So SU-25AT, amazing plane. The invisible missile kills things. The Gatling gun kills things. Lots of armor. Air-to-air missiles sometimes kill things. Really great plane. What I don't agree with is the SU-25 cluster. So because this thing is so slow, it has to basically be over the target to drop its bombs. At which point you're going to eat lots of fire, and don't really see the advantage over this, which you can shoot it from far away and then peel off, so you're not exposing yourself for as long. And you can bring 2 cards of this. Then the MiG-25 BM Seed. Seed is a bit buggy right now. Yeah, sometimes it can work, but Seed is very buggy right now, and the reload time of 2 seconds means that it can't just spam all these out. I don't bring it because of the problems with Seed, but the ECM's good. So you can use it to bait out aircraft, which then die to the SU-25. Use it to bait out anti-air, because it will reveal the radar anti-air beneath it. And while they're shooting at this, and this might survive because of its high ECM, then you hit them with this. So it can work, but that's almost a 500-point strat, and it doesn't work all the time, so risky investment. MiG-27 HE, yeah, it's good. MiG-25 HE, so this thing has a lot of bombs, and so it kills things. It's expensive, turns like a brick, but yeah, I like it. Okay, so with the deck review out of the way, I'm going to go through the deployment for both sides and then start with the game. So typically casters have the viewpoint like this. I don't like that because you can actually see the LOD going in and out there on the far side, and the place where you have the best vision down here is where nothing is happening. So I prefer it from this side. If you have any problems with that, please let me know using the Discord link that I showed you before. That's my Discord account. So looking at the deployment, on the left here, I've brought 2 SAS. So one of them is going on a very sneaky trip all the way down here. Let's see if he makes it using this road on the far left. And one of them is just holding here, which is useful because he has AA and AT. So this stops anybody coming down here. Next up, I have some SAS going down here, and behind them some scouts just to try and hold this. So my idea in playing this game is that I'm going to buy 2 CVs at the start, one here, and you'll see that they're both infantry CVs, and then I'm going to clutch onto these 2 zones, try and get a point advantage, and then hold on for dear life. The enemy approach I'll get to when I cover the enemy, and so I'm expecting him to rush down here because paratroopers do rushes, and so most of my forces are going down here. So the purpose of this unit is just to hold this place, and this unit also does that because the SAS are bad against infantry, the air mobile scouts are bad against vehicles, and so by having both of them I cover the ground, but it is a 200-point investment. I also have an additional aeromobile going over here just to provide a bit of AT cover for this road as well, stop people from sneaking through this way. So going into the main town, I have some airmobile scouts. They'll be going over to this building here, and then I aim to move them to face round here. Then behind them I have the bulk of my forces. So I have the leader, and he's just going to dismount as soon as he gets into the zone, then go hide in a building. Then I have 2 cards of Terrier Pioneers. These are the satchel throwers, and the reason why is that there's a meta strat on the ladder right now that people shoot loads of smoke at you and then run satchels at you, and the way you stop that is by having your own satchels there, because satchels cannot fire on the move. So when they come through the smoke, you blow them up before they can stop, and then you win. I have an air mobile for the Law 80 because these guys have no anti-tank capability. Tracked rapier to kill any air. A mortar for my own smoke and counter battery of enemy smoke, and then some armed rifles just to beef things up, and of course for the warrior, very good fire support against infantry. And then I have some SAS going over here to try and cover this road. So that about covers it for my division. Let's see what my opponent is bringing. So with his forward deployed CV, he already has a CV in this zone. I stopped this just as soon as the game started, so it already started here, and he will start ticking up immediately. Then he has some Desatniki Metis going to here to hold this line. 2 SPGs going up here to... Ah, that's interesting. So the plan is for them to get all the way up here and then go around the back and try and just sneak through and cause some carnage behind the lines. That's smart, I like that a lot. Recon helicopter to scout out the approach of his SPGs. And then this is the main axis of his rush here. So Spetsnaz, good against infantry. Desantniki, good against vehicles. More Spetsnaz, more Desantniki. SPG 9 vehicles, about 4 of them. 1 Metis, and mortars for smoke, and an Igla with a Scratch-It, whatever, for the anti-air gun as well. And you can see his deployment, so he's gonna try and cut through here. The SPGs are gonna go off-road and then cause damage that way. The mortar is probably going here. So both sides have decided to invest heavily in this zone. Me because I'm expecting to be rushed, and my opponent because he's rushing. So I did make the right call there. Then on this side, card of supply. Some SPG 9s just to hold some ground. So a difference between an SPG 9 and the anti-tank gun is that the SPG 9 can go in buildings. Of course, because they run out of ammo so quickly, that's why there's a supply here. Some Razvedka to unload and then put the vehicle separately, so that's a good strat. So I think I covered this in my last video, but the Razvedka are recon, and so is the vehicle. So you can queue up the order, so you unload and then you move the vehicle, and then the vehicle can look out over here and the recon can look out over here, and then you're maximizing your recon potential. Desatniki Metis going to here. Okay, yeah, you can see quite well. Incidentally, nobody going here, which means that this guy has a pretty good chance. So, as I said, I'm going to cast the game from this perspective. If that's problematic, please let me know. It's always a trade-off, but I prefer doing this to looking the other way, where essentially, if you want to look at this, you can't look at this. Right, so they're off. Units moving to the locations I described. In terms of effectiveness, I'll put the tier list on the screen down here for a few seconds, but basically I'd say second is the second worst division in the game. And 35Y is, it's good, it's viable. It's not broken in my opinion, but it is good. So mortar unloads immediately queues up some smoke for the rush. I assumed I would get rushed, so I lose the Saxon on the SAS, but the SAS survive because the Saxon has armor, unlike a truck. Eventually I lose the SAS, so that was a mistake. I should have unloaded them earlier. Air mobile scouts now engaging these trucks, and hopefully we'll kill one. And here comes the smoke to stop my fire support. Over here the SAS got sniped by the SPG, but once again survived with 2 HP because they came in a Saxon, not in a Bedford. So, I see them coming towards me. I try and hold, and I see the smoke. So, these guys aren't getting out, so I leave them in there. When you move, you take more damage. And I see the smoke here, that blocks me. So what do? I pull back, because I know he's coming through the smoke. And I know I have some pioneers here. Hello. Goodbye. And yeah, they just died to the satchel charges immediately. So yeah, smoke can cut both ways. If you have short-range infantry, you should be smoking. If the enemy has short-range infantry, you should not be smoking. And I'm ticking up here because I bought 2 CVs at the start, my enemy did not. Air mobiles here being hit by the SPG, which I couldn't actually see. I knew they were taking damage, but I couldn't see it. So that's interesting. So I saw these guys, but I did not see this. I just saw myself exploding. And we've got some fighters out. Meanwhile, I brought in some rocket helicopters in 2s again. So this is going to try and bomb me, but he can't see through his own smoke. So he eats a Stinger. I think he'll eat another one now. Okay, so he survives, I think. Okay, that was quite lucky, actually. I should have got 2 hits there, but not a problem. I lose one of the Gazelles to the Scratchit and the Igla, so I pull the other one back. His infantry here is now all dead, so I've basically won this fight. For now, at least. The aeromobiles I pull back, because they're being outgunned. I move the Saxon up to hurt these Radvedka. Enemy CV comes in to neutralise. He's moving his mortars, which is smart to avoid counter battery. I did shoot my mortar at him. It probably wouldn't kill him, but it does slow him down and annoy him because it forces him to move. This SAS is now caught between a rock and a hard place, but it gets one of these guys for 3 missiles, which is quite unlucky. So I begin moving him so that he's not in range of this anymore. I'm now trying to use the warrior to snipe these 2 over here, and I'm moving up this aeromobile in an attempt to kill these SPGs. So these SPGs are doing quite well for Infamous. He's microing them well. He's using them in pairs, as you can see, to decrease the micro burden while maximising its firepower. But you see the issue with the ammo. The ammo on these got nerfed as well. Airmobiles kill 1. I think they get the other one. Yeah, they do. So that's about right in terms of accuracy. The SES is stunned, so can't kill the Spetsnaz, and is also out of AT, so these guys are dead now. I did what I could, you know. Typically you want to try and shepherd these because they're so expensive, but there's a lot of enemies here. So I'm just scoping out what's over here to try and take this ground back. I've got the warrior, but I think I move it down here to try and deal with the SPGs. Because I am now very much exposed on this flank. Over here, the air mobiles are still just sort of... Yeah, I get that, but I'm still getting stunned by this, and I can't actually see it because it's in a building, and I don't have recon here, so that is my fault. It's not the game's fault. I should bring recon. So I think I move them back now, when I realise what's going on. Do I get that gas? I do. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here. The warrior obviously eats SPGs for breakfast. So, you know, that's why I don't really rate these, because 1 IFV can kill them. I mean, it's killed 2 already. The mortar I'm keeping firing all the time, or at least as often as I can. Another bomber coming in for my opponent. I lost my tracked rapier. I think an SPG-9 killed it. I've also brought in a challenger, which is not smart because I don't have AA. That bomber misses because he doesn't have line of sight. And now I've realised that the Spetsnaz here does not have anti-tank. So, you know, he's had it, basically. The air mobile survives. I get him out in time. Or her, I suppose. The technical difficulties, T-64B comes in and kills the Saxon, and the T-64B can basically beat all this. So I move the Fox to obscure myself from the tank while shooting the Spetsnaz, and I'm trying to make a dash for this house here so the T-64 can't shoot me. I've got a challenger, so I'm going to hope that he runs into me so I can kill him. And now the Spetsnaz are in. And so I think I bring up the Challenger to deal with the Spetsnaz and the Gazelles just to shoot some rockets. As you can see, no AA here. And there you go. So you fire and then you move back. So this one's out of ammo, so I move it back. And then with this one, I get a bit greedier. Challenger's doing work. D64 smokes when it sees it. And there you go. Both Spetsnaz dead. And now I'm getting this out as well, and I'm supplying it. I've got the supply truck back here. Over here, these guys have used all their ammo and their resupply. And the SAS has almost made it to its destination up here. I brought in some scouts, and here comes the Su-25 cluster for my Challenger, and I do not have sufficient AA to stop this from happening. So I see it, I smoke, I reverse, which was a mistake. You shouldn't reverse, you should run. But he still sees me perfectly. Not sure how, actually. Oh no, and then he just blind fires there. But that's where I'm going. So, yeah, I hit him twice, but I don't kill him. And I lose the Challenger. So, really, because you only get 6, you should really only be bringing them in when you have lots of AA. 1 blowpipe, 1 rapier is not enough. And then I lose the rapier to this bomber here. Then you see me try and bring in the Phantom F3, but this thing's absolutely garbage. 215 points for what? Misses twice and then gets shot down by this MiG-29. Which costs the same price, by the way. I don't know if I made that clear. I suppose I can't show you now. So, at this point, I'm pretty well supplied in here. I lost the tank, which is sad, but I've got lots of warriors. My AA for my Challenger finally arrived, not a moment too soon. And I've put a bit more on this flank. And I'm looking pretty good here. He's still got some SPGs kicking about, and he's increasing his artillery weight. So, at this point, I'm thinking about my future. Where do we go from here? There's no way I'm getting into here, right? Because look, he's just bringing more and more here. So my option is to try and pick away at this, and then the plan is to do some big push into here. But technically, I could just sit on my ass for the next 30 minutes and still win the game, but that's not how I like to play. It also gives the enemy the initiative, which means that you can be caught unprepared in the last few minutes and end up losing, which has happened to me before. I've now brought in the heavy battery stuff to destroy these annoying mortars or howitzers, but he is moving them, which is smart. Every time I do this, it slows him down. Something I have noticed is that the salvo length on this is 6, which is too long, really. It means that this thing absolutely eats supply. You can manually stop the salvo halfway through. I bring in some more blowpipes just to saturate this area with... obviously, blowpipes aren't really the best thing ever, but I think they're pretty funny. Somehow he can see me here, and it is because of this, but I did not know this was here. And now here comes the smoke, which is interesting because no one's really in position here to take advantage of this yet. These BMDs are going over here, and I do end up seeing them. Another bomber to kill these guys. This time I am ready. Long have I purchased blowpipes. So then, yeah, there you go. I think a blowpipe got the final kill on there. My man Gregson, son of Greg's. And so I just moved my pioneers into the smoke because I assume there's some infantry coming, and I want to be there to receive him, like I did last time. Infamous now is able to sweep this because I don't have any recon here, which was a mistake. You know, 1 recon here can stop this from happening. I see the Desantniki, that's why I ping it. And I've got a Gazelle recon here to make sure nothing comes around on the sides. Over here, I'm beginning to build up as well. You see I've got my air mobile scouts and my Terrier Pioneers. This is a bad composition because if there's a vehicle in here, none of these three actually have an anti-vehicle option. So there should be an anti-vehicle option in here in case there is something. Thankfully there's not. It seems Infamous just neglected this, which is a mistake. You should put somebody here at least. Or, you know, some recon here, and then one guy here. And the fight continues. I bring up some Iltis Milans to try and get these BMDs, and I've got a warrior here to help out as well. Infamous is trying to destroy all the buildings. And you see the blowpipe whack this, which is pretty funny. Never see that thing hit anything, but there we go. Yeah, so I now have two of these because of what a standoff fight it has become. I'm getting a challenger in here because I assume he's going to attack down here. And so if I have a challenger here, it can shoot sideways into anything. And now I'm just trying to pick off these Desant Niki with these warriors. It's going well so far. I think I see this now. Yeah, I do. And that can't even shoot back, I believe. Yep. And then I move the warriors up to try and kill this. Donors continue to fire. Is this smoke? No, it's just explosives, because he knows I'm here because the blowpipe shot the helicopter. And then I start losing Donors to T-64Bs, at which point I start losing warriors to T-64Bs, and then I pull the remaining warrior out. And I think I move the challenger up to, you know, challenge. So, at this point, my opponent gets a recon round here, which I don't recognise until much later, and this has given him really good vision on, you know, who's coming and going. You can probably see all this. It also gives you corrected shot on the artillery, which is very powerful. If you have recon, it gives the artillery a bonus. So now I'm moving the challenger up with the warriors to fight these T-64s. And he sees me. I'm aiming for where he was, so I'm wasting a lot of shells here, really. As you can see, I'm moving up here on the left, trying to get behind him with the scouts. This guy's getting stung by the SPG. This little block's working. The Challenger and Milan combo is winning. That one smokes. That one takes a hit and then smokes, so hooray, we won. I move the Rapier up because, you know, there's a Challenger in the open. That means a jet is coming. He lands a helicopter here, I blow it up with the tank. And here comes a cluster plane, which I know is on its way because I have a Challenger in the open. So at this point I think I can see it, and so I pull everything back. I spot that recon and kill it with the Gazelles. And this is the issue with this cluster plane, because it's so slow. You know, I actually managed to get out the way. And he drops his bombs. The Phantom F3 does something for once. And he kills the Rapier. But he does not kill the Challenger, so I'm happy with that. There's obviously a lot of people here now. But I won that fight. I think I killed 2, or at least I guess I damaged 2 and killed 1. And I lost 1 Rapier for it, which works for me. Mortar's now coming in for this Milan, and that dies, and I think the blowpipe will probably die as well. I see these guys coming in, and so I move the warriors forward to intercept. But these SPGs start picking me off, and I can't actually see them because I don't have recon. Yeah, this recon is out of position, so the recon should be in front of the armoured vehicle so I can see. So this was a mistake from me. I should have kept these guys back and waited for him to attack into me again. So I smoke everybody up. And then I send the Challenger forwards because, as far as I'm concerned, you know, it can survive things as a Challenger. And it is getting kills. Gets hit by an SPG-9, takes 1 damage, so not a big deal. And then it gets hit by something, and it loses all its health, and there's nothing here, so I'm really not sure what did that. I think it was like a crit from the SPG. Took off 8 points of HP on a Challenger. So, yeah, that's cool, I guess. Skill issue. So more bombers. There's lots of blowpipes here now, though. I lost one of my rapiers, though, so I only have one. I get him with the something. I get him with the Phantom. The Phantom will now die. This guy's now flying over the rapier. And the blowpipes, everything misses. Oh no, I get hit at the end, so he is now repairing for like 7 or 8 minutes. I had another Phantom on intercept, but this is slower than his plane, so it's never going to catch it. And now the attack begins in earnest. I think that's the right way of saying it. So I'm sending forward the Iltis Milans, but he's within gun range, so this was not terribly intelligent. And I lost my warriors, and I lost my Challenger, so this is now a bad time for me. Over here, I've recognized that I am up here, and so I've begun attacking, counter-attacking. While he's attacking here, I attack there. And it's going alright so far. Lots of people dying, I suppose. Realistically, I should have waited a couple extra minutes. This rapier should be a bit closer. This rapier should be a bit closer. But I recognize that he only has Spetsnaz here, so I just send the warriors straight in. I don't actually see this. And I think this is out of ammo, or I don't see it. I mean, it's about to be. Yeah, so it's now out of ammo. And so these Spetsnaz have no anti-infantry, anti-tank options. I bomb one. And then I use the warriors on the other ones. I didn't know about this Desantniki. This guy evacs the wrong way because I didn't manually tell him to go over here before evacing, so he evacs over the enemy AA net and dies. This attack's still going, but I'm doing alright. Infantry in buildings do better than infantry not in buildings, even though I lost all my warriors to my own stupidity. I've got recon here, which is in the wrong place really. I want it about here, so I can see, because right now I can't really see anything. Over here, it's going well. I got some Terrier gun groups. I've been trying to use them more to see if they're any good. They're very cheap. And I'm now just flooding this town because I'm aware that there's really not a whole lot here. And his focus is over here. I send in this Phantom to shoot a helicopter, which is obviously a mistake because it doesn't have guns. So can't really do that. And I bring in some more trash. And I have a lot of things coming over here. I bought this mortar to deploy smoke, and I don't use it. So that's going well. I'll keep it zoomed out so you can see both sides. I noticed that he had no visible AA, which means his AA is at the back. So that's why I put this hell arm here to try and snipe these tanks, or at least stop them from moving any further forwards. He's now bringing over a lot of MI8s. I move over here, and these guys will now die to all of this. So that was a mistake on my part. I tried to move them back. I don't know if they make it. I have one tracked rapier, I'm bringing it up. The SAS obviously have their own capabilities. I've got some recon around the back, so I can see the reinforcements he's bringing in. I used the Gazelle to find this enemy CV. This once, hit the second one. I've now cut his resupply. Bring this in just to snipe this. Evac the correct way this time. Miss. But yeah, so he now can't resupply this. The SAS can shoot these. I'm bringing up the tracked rapier. I know about this, so I'm a bit wary. And I think I'll move it over here. Over here, his attack has failed. I think in part due to too much caution. So as you can see, there is a lot more here than there is here. He definitely could have pushed in here. But just the way that I'm shepherding my units has forced him to slow down. And his attention is now split. This guy I should have evac'd a long time ago. Got on Milan too. I'm spamming guys into here. The MiG kills my recon and kills my jet. My rapier died to this UAZ, so brought in another one. The SAS has the stingers and it's still hitting this, so that's now wounded, which is good. More Nonas, more attacking. This is now going quite badly for me. He's realised how much of an advantage he has. That MiG died because this SAS hit it. So this guy's paid for himself. And finally he stops moving his mortars. They do it eventually. And the Nona is armoured, so it's harder to kill. But yeah, we wounded him. And over here, I'm just flooding more guys in to secure the ground. You'll see no CV yet, and you might think, well, why not get the CV? Well, I want to not lose the zone. Jaguar cluster on a suicide mission dies. MiG-25 on a suicide mission dies. These are out of ammo. I've now basically won here. And so you see, like, a CV is like 150 points for an infantry CV. So 1, 2, 3. So yeah, so all of that is the same price as a CV, right? And I would like the CV, sure, but I would also like to not lose the zone. So that's why I do it in this order. There will be a CV coming once I can secure the zone. And my opponent's done the same on this side. So yeah, his CV's coming in now that he has a foothold. I've begun to reinforce because I've seen how much of an advantage I have over here. I've basically won over here. So lots of warriors in here now. Another SPG around the side because I lost that recon. These guys aren't doing anything because they're not supplied. I suppose the hell arm could be used. Realistically, if I'd put it here, it might have got these, if I could see them, but I don't think I can see them because I don't have any recon. Enemy CV's now in the zone. He's messing up his resupplies a little bit, so he loses some units there to just driving into me. I'm slowly getting pushed out here, but I don't mind because I now own all of this. So next step is a CV for this. And you see that I'm just getting hammered by this artillery. I'm not counter-battering effectively enough. I start using my howitzers to try and snipe the CV. And I do actually hit it. So that's supposed to be salvo length of 6, so... Ah, yes, so I swap it. Don't know what's going on there, really. The AA kills my hell arm. The blowpipe is obviously not going to do anything. This is now mine. I know this is still here. Well, actually, no, I think I assumed I killed it because it stopped shooting. Because it killed my last rapier, and then I moved the next one up here. I assumed it was dead, I suppose. I've now so I've secured the resupply, and I'm going to try and secure down here. I realise that this is only an igloo, so I'll start running at it. No one is still shooting. Slowly pushing me out. Ka-50, 300 point plane round the back here. Yeah, I'm still trying to counter battery these mortars and stuff. I bring in the Phantom, but it doesn't have a gun, so it just misses twice, and then has to evac. And then I have a tracked rapier and 3 warriors to kill this. So I'm popping smoke on the warriors because of the toes. Which actually I think obscures this, perhaps. Might be this tree line here. Just on low altitude. Oh, it's landed. Okay. Yeah, so as you can see, it can still shoot despite its gun being in the ground. And that explains why this doesn't kill it. So that clears up a question I had. So I was like, well, why am I losing? So yes, while landed, he fires his rockets, you know, with a ground clearance of, I don't know, 1 meter. That's just how the game works. And then I bring in the fox, and I'm pretty sure the fox killed it because it's landed, right? And so, just like a ground target, and yeah, so something kills it. Okay. Is it an Iltis Malay? Looked like an ATGM. Yeah, it was a Lynx Helon fired a toe at it because it was classed as a ground target because it was on the ground. Bring these forwards to try and kill these again. I'm once again trying to counter battery. And then the SAS has been resupplied and is now taking on a Ka-50, so 300 point helicopter. And at this point, he's just not getting in here. So the AT group, I'm sending it to here, so anybody that comes in, he can just blow up. And I've got the fox behind him, and I see this because, well, it's in front of me. The SAS still fighting this guy. I think he could have moved it back, but he wasn't watching. And now all this is going to die. Bringing in a Phantom for the K-50 again, which was a mistake. But it dies, and the SAS kills it with 6... fired all 6 missiles to kill it, basically. Which is good for me. Just bringing in the odd bomber here, and you can see that. So by pulling back selectively and, you know, fighting in the buildings, pulling back, fighting in the buildings, I am winning the trades, right? So I've lost ground, but I've won trades. And now I've got this, like, stack of warriors building up here. Sadly, I've, you know, lost ownership over this, which is very bad. You could, you know, send a T-64 around here. But he's not getting back in here, as you can see, right? Because I've got like a picket line, and I've got the guys on the zone. So I'm +3. At this point, I'm like, oh, it's Spetsnaz, send in the warrior. And then I come to the conclusion that, well, I've got, you know, 6 warriors. I've got this fox here, and he doesn't really see much here. So why don't I just walk forwards? And so that's what I do, I just walk forwards. The tanks obviously are a problem, but they can't get here. And if they get close to this, then the air mobiles will kill him. So this is on return fire only, and I'm just hiding. And then I just send all the warriors forwards. And I find this CV. Hello. And there you go, the CV's dead. These tanks are an issue, but if they get closer, well, one's dead. I send in a cluster, but I fuck it up. So cluster doesn't get anything, and then it gets sniped by this jet, which is now 3 vet. But the jet is now flying over all my AA, so maybe I get him. At this point, it doesn't really matter, I'm +6. So I realize that this is sort of the squishy underbelly of the enemy, and so I just send them all forwards. I actually tell them to just go to the enemy base. And he's trying to wheel around on this side because he recognizes my weakness, but he's already lost 1 tank, and so I just move these guys over. These guys are now cleaning house. I should have moved this. And I'm just re-securing, so Milan 2's in here. And he's now around the back of me, which is bad. He's trying to find my CV, but I moved it, right? I didn't just leave it there. And so I know there's no one here, so I'm pretty sure I just start moving it further into the town. My warriors are warrioring. I'm trying to get some stuff in to break this, but I'm not 100% sure what's there. The air mobiles are dead. But over here, do I get this? No, I guess not. So yeah, I've lost the positional war over here, but you know, I just keep moving these guys further in. I'm +6, and I know that he can't get another CV up here because I've got all my stuff over here. I'm just running at his stuff now. And yeah, I'm trying to re-secure this, but this was obviously a bit of a misplay. Boxes against T64, not so good. Yeah, I saw this because it flied over the SAS, and so I think I put some AA here, and then he surrenders. So GG. Kills are reasonably similar. So yeah, I hope this gives you some ideas on how to play this division, which, like I say, is one of the worst in the game. As you can see, he eventually just stopped moving some stuff, so I got something. And yeah, hopefully they buff it so it becomes less bad, but you can see the power of the SAS, right, if you use them properly and get a bit lucky, maybe. The warriors are good now that they've got smoke. AT team, even if it had only killed this, it would have basically paid for itself. Yeah, so that basically shows what I'm on about. Good play with this T64, killed a lot. So yeah, the division really struggles against enemy medium tanks like the T64. Because you only have light tanks and then heavy tanks, and the heavy tanks are difficult to protect with what you have. So basically bring the AA in first and bring the tank in second would be my advice. I hope you learned something. Have a nice day.